He has to be more careful with his language, especially if he talks about things like
so
execution.
do Democrats.
Can you please let me finish? I show you respect.
Ben,
show me
please.
respect.
Okay.
That's what needs to happen in this country. And the president has to show respect. He has to show honor. He has to show integrity. Yesterday, he called a woman piggy. Now he's calling an astronaut who's a Navy veteran a traitor. He has to be more careful and precise with his language, especially because he's a commander.
Democrats call him a Nazi.
He has a unique responsibility.
Presidential language under fire after inflammatory remarks. The commander-in-chief faces mounting criticism for increasingly controversial rhetoric. Recent comments targeting a Navy veteran astronaut as a traitor and referring to a woman with a derogatory term have sparked bipartisan concern about presidential decorum. The controversy escalated when the president allegedly called for the execution of political opponents, prompting a heated debate on national television. CNN's Abby Phillip moderated a panel discussion featuring commentators including Ben Ferguson, Lee McGowan, and Nera Tandon, who debated the implications of this inflammatory language. Critics argue the nation's highest office demands measured, dignified communication, particularly from the military's commander-in-chief. The incident has reignited conversations about presidential accountability and the boundaries of political discourse. What are your thoughts on presidential rhetoric and accountability? Share your perspective in the comments below. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's dive in.
Welcome back. As we were just discussing, I mean, there's a disagreement here about whether this needed to be said in the first place, but let's say that it didn't need to be said and that military members know already that they should only follow legal orders. And why on earth would the president then pivot and threaten those members of Congress for saying something that was so plainly obvious?
Go ahead.
Can I just say what I think is so odd about this is what is the problem to Donald Trump in saying don't do illegal things? I mean, why is that any threat to the president? You would think that most presidents are actually not planning to do anything illegal. And let me just finish. And I guess I would just come back to this fact, which is that his own Pentagon lawyers right now are disputing the legality of the Venezuelan just shoot downs of boats. And so I think the idea that the far right is saying, what could you imagine? And I would disagree with you, Paul. I think this is totally wrong. When we have a current situation in which the president's own lawyers, people who work for the Pentagon, are saying it's possibly illegal that these actions are happening. Now,
let me ask you a question.
Just to finish, imagine a year from now.
Hold on, Paul. I do want to get
they weren't specific because who knows what will be next.
Let me say this. Let me say.
Hold on a second. Go ahead.
Who knows what will be next?
Nera, hang on a second. Let me let Ben.
This is the reason why the president responded the way he did. It is very clear this video was put out without any reason behind it. There was no red flag to put this out. It was done clearly for fundraising, number one.
Broken the law?
Let me finish, and then you can yell at me if you want to. It was clearly done, premeditated, fundraising. You got emails going out at 6 o'clock on the day this happened. That was clearly orchestrated and pre-planned.
Hold on, Nera.
Again. And the second thing is, you have a president that's pretty used to Democrats saying, we don't pay attention to laws. We don't enforce laws with ICE. We don't enforce laws with the border. We don't enforce laws with anything we don't like with Donald Trump. So this was a wink and a nod to military officials that if you don't like Donald Trump, you don't have to follow anything that he says that you don't really want to. And oh, by the way, the caveat, the best part about this is, then when he responds, we will literally be so shallow because there is no issue here. We're just trying to raise money off of it.
But Ben,
that's it. This is a money game.
Ben, if this is just a fundraising ploy by Democrats, why is Trump calling it a seditious conspiracy? Why is he likening it to treason? Why is he suggesting that they should be hanged for it? Because I think when you suggest that military leaders should go against the president of the United States of America. Well, it was. The Democratic Party.
That's not what they said.
I'm just taking you at your own argument.
And I'll
if
expand.
It's a fundraising ploy,
don't expand.
Why is the president then acting as if this is a conspiracy to overthrow the government?
Abby,
but wait. We were all here on January 6th when he called the people breaking into the Capitol patriots. How do those things?
He said go peacefully.
He called them patriots.
He said go peacefully.
Ben, no,
the majority of the people there, he believes.
Ben, you and I are talking about different things. We are talking about different things. In the moment, as they were breaking into the Capitol, Donald Trump released a video from the White House, and he called those insurrectionists patriots. He proceeded to then pardon them. How can that same man turn around and say a video that you just called a fundraising ploy
Is it?
a seditious
Are they raising money off of
conspiracy?
it? Are they raising money off of it?
But
It's not because I say it. It's because Mark Kelly sent out a fundraising email. I didn't do that. Mark did.
Can I take us back to a point that
The question that needs asking. Here's what's missing from this debate. A simple, direct question. If political fundraising emails are the issue, what exactly is the proposed consequence? Someone needs to ask Ferguson point blank. Are you actually suggesting execution as punishment for campaign solicitations? It sounds absurd when you say it out loud, because it is. Yet that's where this rhetoric leads when you follow it to its logical conclusion. We need moderators willing to cut through the vague language and demand clarity. What specifically are we talking about here? Because standard political activities shouldn't require this kind of conversation at all. Your thoughts? Drop them below.
So sitting here in between this as it continues to go on, this is how our military feels right now. This is how the men and women of our military feel right now. They feel like they're in the middle of this every single day.
Don't put out the video.
I'm still talking. And that they're a political chew toy in the middle of this madness. But the president has a unique responsibility to set the command climate, to set the tone, to set an example. He has to be more careful with his language, especially if he talks about things like execution.
So do Democrats.
Can you please let me finish? I show you respect.
Ben,
show me
please.
respect.
Okay,
That's what needs to happen in this country. And the president has to show respect. He has to show honor. He has to show integrity. Yesterday, he called a woman piggy. Now he's calling an astronaut who's a Navy veteran a traitor. He has to be more careful and precise with his language, especially because he's a commander.
Democrats call him a Nazi.
He has a unique responsibility. He is the president.
They called him a Nazi and a fascist.
And he is setting the tone for
celebrated when he got shot. Don't lecture us about words, please.
All right, the sitting vice president also called him a Nazi, so don't.
And we just made swastikas.
Here's another thing that this, to your point. Does anti-woke mean that swastikas and nooses are now no longer called hate symbols in the United States Coast Guard? According to the Washington Post, they discovered a change in the Coast Guard's harassing behavior prevention response and accountability policy that appears to raise that very question. Here are the two recent versions of that policy. On the left there, you see a document from 2023 that states that depictions of nooses and swastikas, also Confederate symbols, for example, would constitute, quote, potential hate incident. But now, look on the right, and you'll see that the Coast Guard wants to call them potentially divisive symbols. An anonymous Coast Guard official told the Washington Post, "We don't deserve the trust of the nation if we are unclear about the divisiveness of swastikas." I should also add that it appears that the Coast Guard is going to take another look at this now that it has been made public. But I have no idea why this would even come up. But what do you think is behind it?
Well, I honestly, I don't know. I mean, aside from like a swastika is a hate symbol. It represents hate. What else does it represent if not hate? How many people died under a swastika? If I drew a swastika on your car and you were a Jewish person, what am I saying to you? If I put a noose on your car, what would I be saying to you? When it's associated with certain groups of people that have been treated in a certain way, that is why they become hate symbols. So for any part of our military to adjust their qualifications like this on hate symbols, it should be a glaring red light for us that we are in real trouble. Because this is very problematic.
The anti-woke push taking us to this place where we're sort of like softening the punishment for putting a swastika or a noose somewhere in the military?
I think that the folks over at Washington Post must have gone to like claymiles.com and got jokes out of his file of jokes and put, this is not a real story. The commandant of the acting commandant of the Coast Guard came out and said, this is categorically false. This is not their policy. I go back to our military members again. They know, Paul knows this just like I do. They know that there are standards and that these are hate symbols. And I will tell you, as Paul again will note, when you're getting shot at, you're getting blown up, you don't care who comes in the QRF to come help you and get you out. It's all your brothers and your sisters. And so you're trying to play politics. This story, not you. I'm sorry, not you. The Washington Post is trying to play politics with a fake story. That's not true.
It's not a fake story because here's the thing. Everybody in the military, including you in the Marine Corps, me in the Army, knows check the reg. Check what's in writing. And in writing, it's up there for the whole world to see. You can find it on the internet. It does not make it clear, right? It says that this is a potentially divisive thing. Swastikas and nooses, there's zero tolerance for them in the military. Of course. And there should be zero tolerance for anybody who doesn't understand that. If you work in government and you don't understand that, you need to resign today and find another job.
Did you see the Commandant's?
But
Did you see the?
But did you see the regulation? Did you see the writing? Did you see what it said?
Let me say this,
Read what it
because I think
said.
matters.
Right? Change the language.
Hold on a
The
second.
Post got this wrong. The U.S. Coast Guard put out this tweet, quote, "The claims the U.S. Coast Guard will no longer classify swastikas, nooses, or other extremist imagery as prohibited symbols are categorically false."
That's not what the Post story says.
That is what the U.S.
That
Coast
is
Guard
not.
says.
Yeah, I know that's
The
what
Coast Guard is saying
Hold
this
on,
is a lie.
hold on, Ben.
The Department of Homeland Security
Hold
said
on, Ben.
you guys are now just
Ben.
making
And here's the
stuff
reg.
up.
Here's
One
the reg.
second.
Chapter
One
11,
second.
B. Potentially divisive symbols and flags. 1. Potentially divisive symbols and flags include, but are not limited to, the following: a noose, a swastika. There it is.
Okay.
Homeland Security.
We are
Again,
gonna
Homeland
use
Security
this
saying,
Homeland
y'all
Security. Hold on a
gotta take
second
other
here.
things
We're
out.
gonna,
There is the reg.
Ben, we're gonna use our thinking. We're gonna put our thinking caps
I use it
on,
every day.
Okay. You read that statement. That is not actually what they are denying. Is not actually what the Washington Post story says. The Washington Post story doesn't say that it's not prohibited. It says that it has been reclassified from a hate symbol to something that is, quote, potentially divisive.
So
Paul just read the. Paul just read it.
To be clear,
So
you guys think
so,
if
Ben,
you think if a
Ben,
news
let me
shows
finish,
up,
please.
no one's going to get in
Ben,
trouble?
let me finish. So when the Washington Post puts out this story, and then the Coast Guard says we're gonna take another look at this, that is an acknowledgement that in the writing they have changed how it is characterized in writing. And to Paul's point, that is what really matters at the end of the day.
No, it
is
matters what the Coast Guard leadership said this afternoon.
No, that's
you
spin.
That's
That's
You can
spin.
read it as many
That's
times
spin.
as you want.
So you're saying
But
don't
they are
trust the
denying-
Coast
Do you think
Guard?
it's going to stay this way? Do you think
They
they're
are
going to change
denying
it?
something
I
that
think,
is not
I
ever
think when the
alleged.
Coast
You think
Guard
they're going
comes
to change
out,
it?
Can I just
You think
say-
they're
I think when
gonna
the
change it?
Coast Guard comes out and says it the way that they said it, I go back
It's
to
in
what
the
he said.
regulation.
This is a
They
ridiculous
have
story
to
they're
change
saying
it.
is not
What-
accurate from the
They
Post.
have to
What's
change. It's
clearly-
absolutely
what's clearly
accurate,
happened
and it has to
here-
be changed.
What's clearly
Coast Guard will
happened
change it.
here is this is a regulation.
Let's revisit Trump's recent comments about Democrats. Here's what bothers me about these cable news debates. Watch any segment with commentators like Ben Ferguson or Scott Jennings. Ask them a direct question about Trump's statements, and you'll immediately hear, "but the Democrats," or "but Joe Biden." It's whataboutism as a debate strategy. Abby Phillip tried holding Ferguson accountable on this exact issue. She asked him to address Trump's rhetoric without deflecting to the other side. His response? Immediate deflection to Democratic fundraising tactics, even though both parties constantly fundraise. Then there's January 6th. When Phillip raised it, we got the usual spin. Downplaying the violence while simultaneously claiming Democrats are the real threat. The cognitive dissonance is stunning. This reflects where we are as a country right now. When you can't defend a position without immediately pointing fingers elsewhere, that's not political discourse. That's deflection. The current administration features voices that operate this way daily. Watch any press briefing, and you'll see the same pattern. Avoid the question, attack the questioner, change the subject. What's your take? Can we have substantive political debates without constant whataboutism? I'm Insights Brief. Drop your thoughts below. And if you found this perspective valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more analysis.